Hello everyone and welcome to NileCertify. If you are getting ready for the ServiceNow CSA exam, you are in the right place. My name is Waddah Azhari, and in this series we are going to walk through a ServiceNow CSA practice questions one by one and talk through the logic behind each answer. This video is part 1, and we are going to start with the core platform basics, things like navigation, forms, list, views, and the everyday UI stuff that always shows up on the exam. Here how it will work. I will put a question on the screen and you will get a moment to pause and think about your answer. Then I will break it down and we will look at each option, why 3 of them are wrong and why 1 of them is actually correct. So we won't rely on memorizing or buzzwords, just actually understanding how the platform really behaves. This is just the first part of a full CSA playlist. In the next videos we will dive into tables, schema, CMDB, service catalog, user administration, update sets, and all the other sections that the exam blueprint covers. So if you want to follow along with the whole journey, go ahead and hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and save the playlist so you can come back to it. And without further ado, let's go to the first question. So the question says, what can a user do within a list view in ServiceNow? And the options are A, customize the global theme, B, delete the entire record set, C, save filter conditions as personal favorite, D, edit form layout for all users. Now let's go through the options. So what this question is really about, and the key phrase here is within a list view. So think about when you are looking at a list of incidents or requests, the area where you see many records in rows and columns. The exam is really checking if you know what actions are normal list actions versus platform administrative actions. So keep in mind that list view is about records and filter. Global theme or form layout settings are more about system configuration. With that in mind, let's go option by option. The first one is customize the global theme. Can we do that from a list view? No. Changing the global theme is an administrator level UI configuration. It affects the whole instance or many users, not just you staring at a list. You do that in a system settings or through configuration and not from inside a list of records. So A is incorrect. Option B, delete the entire record set. And this one sounds really scary, and that's a clue. From a list, you can select multiple records and delete them if you have the right role. But the phrase delete the entire record set for any user is way too strong. The CSA exam is not going to treat that as a normal user feature, neither the ServiceNow platform itself. So access to delete is controlled by roles and ACLs. Many users cannot delete anything at all, so as a general capability of a user in a list view, B is incorrect. Now moving to option C, save filter conditions as a personal favorite. Now this should ring a bell. In a list, you use the filter breadcrumb to build conditions. You can then click the star icon and save that filter as a favorite. This is normal, very common list action. It is also personal. It only affects your account. The key words here, filter conditions and personal favorite, match exactly what you do in a list view. And this is a classic list behavior that the CSA exam loves to test. So C is correct. Option D, edit a form layout for all users. And here's another classic trap. Form layout is about how a form looks, not a list. Also, for all users means a global configuration change done through configure form layout or form designer. And that requires the right admin level rules. And you do not edit a form layout while setting in a list. You usually open a record, then configure the form. So D is incorrect. The key takeaway here is I would like you, when you see within a list view, think how you can change how you see things, right? These things like filters, favorites, maybe personal list layout. You cannot change system-wide UI like themes or form layout for everyone. You definitely do not casually wipe out entire record sets. For this question, the only action that truly fits normal list behavior is C, save filter condition as a personal favorite, and that is your correct answer. Moving to the next question. What is the formatter in the context of a form layout? Options are A, a form element used to display non-field information. B, a scripting tool for assigning default values. C, a filter tool applied to lists. D, a report builder module. So what is this question really asking? The key phrase here is in the context of a form layout. So the exam is testing whether you know parts of a form, not lists, not reports, not scripting tools. On a form in ServiceNow, you have fields like short description, priority, other things that are not fields like activity, process flow, approval summarizers. Those other things are where formatters come in. A UI formatter is defined as a form element used to display information that is not a field in the record. Keep that wording in your head because it basically gives you the answer. Now let's go through the options. Option A, a form element used to display non-field information. And this lines perfectly with the definition from the documentations. I want you to think of the activity formatter. It shows comments and work notes, and that is not a single field on the record. Same with the process flow formatter. It shows stages of the record. You add these through form layout or form designer as formatters, not as normal fields. So A matches both the wording of the question and the official definition, and option A is correct. But let's go through the other options, right? So option B, scripting tool for assigning default values. And this one sounds like it belongs somewhere in the platform, but not here. Assigning default value is usually done with default value on the dictionary, client scripts, business rules. Those are scripting tools and configuration, but they are not formatters and they are not strictly about form layout. They change data behavior, not visual layout elements. So B is incorrect. Option C, filter tool applied to list. And here's a classic redirect. Lists use filters and breadcrumbs. You might think of filters and format together in your brain, but in ServiceNow, those are different things. A formatter is on a form, filters and breadcrumbs are on a list. The question even says in the context of a form layout, which rules out list-only features. So C is incorrect. Option D, a report builder module. This one is just in a different part of a product. Reports are built with the reporting interface. You can format a report, sure, but the word formatter in the CSA exam usually points to a UI formatter on a form, not the reporting engine. Also, the question explicitly mentions a form layout and not report layout. So D is incorrect. Option 3, concept summary and exam takeaway. And for the CSA exam, remember this simple line. A formatter is the form element that displays information that is not a single field. You drop it onto a form layout when you want extra visual components, like activity, process flow, or other special blocks. So the correct answer is A, form element used to display non-field information. Next question. What does the history tab in the ServiceNow application Navigator display? Options are the list of most frequently used modules, B, all modules the user has permission to access, C, the modules and records the user has accessed recently, D, the system administrator's login history. So, when you look at this question, the key clues here are History tab and Application Navigator. We are not talking here about reports or logs or rules. We are talking about that little History tab on the left side where the Application Navigator lives. And the exam is really asking, do you know what shows up in your personal history list in the Navigator? So keep that in mind as we go through each option. Option A, the list of most frequently used modules. This sounds like it could be right at first glance, but in ServiceNow, frequently used items are a different concepts from history. History is about recent activity. Frequently used would require counting and ranking usage, which is not what the History tab does. So A is incorrect. Option B, all modules the user has permission to access. And this is really describing the all applications or all modules view of the Navigator, not the History tab. If it showed all modules you can access, that would basically be your full application Navigator, which already exists in the main tab. History is supposed to be a short list of recent items, not every single thing you are allowed to see. So B is incorrect. Option C, the module and records the user has accessed recently. Now this one should feel familiar if you have clicked around a real instance. When you open a record like an incident or click a module like incident all, those items shows up in History tab, and you can then jump back to them quickly. So the key phrase is module and records and accessed recently. That matches exactly how the History tab behaves, and this is the correct description of the History tab. So C is correct. Option D, the system administrator login history. And this one is way off on purpose. Login history for users, including admins, is security and auditing feature. You would look at that through system logs or security related modules, not through the application navigator history tab. Also, notice the scope. The question is about what any user sees in their navigator, not what an admin sees in security log. So D is incorrect. Now for the CSA exam, remember this simple idea. The history tab in the application navigator shows what you have opened recently. That includes modules and records. It is personal to you it is about recency, not frequency, not permissions, and not security logs. So your final answer is C, the module and records the user has accessed recently. All right, let's unpack this one together. The question is, in ServiceNow, what is the view in the context of lists or forms? Options: A saved filter applied to a list. B, a specific set and arrangement of fields displayed on a list or form. C, a portal theme applied to the interface. D, the table name prefix for a custom application. What is this really asking? So if you look at in the context of list of form, here the exam is testing your understanding of how ServiceNow can show the same data in different layouts. Think of it like this. You have one record, but you might want a different layout for mobile or for HR or for an approver. And that is where the views come in. Views are about how fields are arranged on the screen, not which records are returned, and not themes and not table prefixes. Keep that in mind as we go through the options. Option A, a saved filter applied to a list. And this sounds close and it is a common trap. A saved filter changes which records you see in the list. For example, only incidents assigned to me. That is a filter or a favorite, not a view. Views do not decide which rows appear. Views decide which columns or fields are shown and in what arrangement. So A is incorrect. Option B, specific set and arrangement of fields displayed on a list or form. This is exactly what a view is. On a form, a view controls which fields appear and how they are laid out. On a list, a view controls which columns are shown for that list. You can switch between views like default, mobile, or a custom view, and the underlying record is the same. Only the presentation changes. This matches the wording in the question perfectly and lines up with how ServiceNow uses the term views. So B is correct. Option C, a portal theme applied to the interface. This is talking about branding and theming, not views. Portal themes are for service portal or UI branding. Colors, fonts, layout of the portal, that kind of a thing. Completely different feature and not in the context of list of forms like the question says. So C is incorrect. Option D, the table name prefix for a custom application. This is about application scoping. For example, X company app name table or X underscore company underscore app name underscore table. That part or that prefix is part of the scope table name. It has nothing to do with the views, layouts, or how records are displayed on a list or form. So D is incorrect. And the right answer is B. And for CSA exam, remember this simple line. A view controls which fields or columns are shown and how they are arranged. Right? It changes the layout, not the data. Filters decide which records you see. Views decide how those records look on screen. So the correct answer is B, specific set and arrangement of fields displayed in a list or form. This question says, to arrange fields on an incident form via drag and drop, which interface component should an administrator use? Options are A, form designer, B, UI policy, C, form layout, D, application navigator. So what is this question really about? And the big clue here is the phrase rearrange fields and via drag and drop. So we are not talking about behavior or logic. We are talking about the visual layout of the form and specifically a tool that supports drag and drop. In ServiceNow, you have really two main ways to change form layout. Form layout, the older slash bucket style, or form designer, the newer drag and drop canvas. So this question is basically asking which one is the drag and drop one. Now, option A says form designer. And I want you to think about form designer and what it looks like. So you get a big canvas with the form. The fields are on the left, and you can literally drag fields onto the form or move them around between sections. If you ever built a website using Elementor or like those block builders, it's not that different. It controls layout, sections, and even related lists in a visual way. And this matches the clue in the question perfectly, so we will put it as a correct and we will consider the other options. Option B, UI policy, and this one tricks a lot of people. UI policy control behavior on the form, make a field read only, and make a field mandatory. Show or hide a field based on conditions. But they do not rearrange fields. They do not give you a drag and drop interface. They are logic rules, not layout tools. So B is incorrect. Option C, form layout, and now this is the sneaky one. Form layout absolutely changes which fields are on the form, but the interface is the older slash bucket style, not the drag and drop. You move fields between available and selected using arrows, not by dragging them around the canvas. So form layout does layout, but not with the drag and drop. And the question is very specific, so that rules this one out. C is incorrect for this question. Option D, application navigator. Application navigator is just how you find modules on the left side of the screen. You use it to open incident, problem, change, and all the other modules. It has nothing to do with designing or rearranging field on a form. So D definitely incorrect. And the right answer is A, form designer. Form designer is visual, drag and drop, canvas, layout of fields and sections, a related list. All these features can be done through form designer. Form layout, slash bucket, move fields between available and selected lists, no drag and drop. UI policy are behavior, not layout. Application navigator is navigation, not design. So again, the correct answer for this question is A. Question 6. Where should a user type text to quickly filter the application navigator for matching application modules or favorites? A. In the global search field at the top of the screen. B. In the navigation filter field at the top of the application navigator. C. In the search bar on the list view page. D. In the browser's address bar. And what is this question really about? So if we look at it again, I would like to draw your attention to filter the application navigator and application modules or favorite. So this is not about searching data records. It is specifically about narrowing down what shows up in the application navigator on the left side. That vertical panel where you see incident, problem, change, and all the modules. The exam is asking, where do you type if you want the left navigation list to shrink down to matching items? And now let's check each option. Option A, in the global search field at the top of the screen. Global search is the magnifying glass at the very top. that searches records across multiple tables, like incidents, knowledge articles, catalog items. It does not filter the list of modules in the application navigator. You could search for email globally, but that is looking for data, not trying to hide or show navigator modules. So A is incorrect for this question. Option B, in the navigation filter field at the top of the application navigator. And this is the little filter box directly above the list of applications and modules on the left. When you type there, the navigator instantly filters application names, module names, favorites if that tab is selected, and this is exactly what the question describes. Filters application navigator for matching applications, modules, or favorites. So B matches perfectly, and we will consider it correct for the time being and see the other options. Option C, in the search bar on the list view page. The list search bar filters records in a list like incidents in the incident table. If you are on incident all, typing in the list search bar can filter or search those incident rows. And it does not touch the application navigator at all. So C is incorrect. Option D, in the browser's address bar, and this one is just here to see if you are awake. The browser address bar is for URLs, not for filtering. ServiceNow navigation, typing there is completely outside ServiceNow UI, right? So definitely is incorrect. And the key takeaway here for the CSA exam, just please keep this simple pairing in mind. Navigation filter field filters the application navigator. Global search searches across records and knowledge. List search filters rows in current list. So correct answer again is B, in the navigation filter field at the top of the application navigator. Question 7. Which action correctly adds a new related list to a form? Okay, so before going to the option, let's see here the questions. And from this question only, we can tell that we are working on a form and we want to add a related list at the bottom. And the question is about an action, right? And the action admin should take in the UI. So think about what you actually do when you say, I want this form to show another related list such as tasks, SLA, or child incidents. And that normally starts from the form header menu. Now let's go through the option. So option A, edit the table dictionary entries. And dictionary entries define fields. Label, type, reference, default value, and so on. A related list is not created by editing a field on the main table. It usually appears because there is already a relationship, such as a reference or M2M, and you simply choose to show that related list on the form. So editing the dictionary does not directly add a related list to the form, and option A is incorrect. Option B, right-click the form header and select configure, then related list. And this is the classic configuration path. In a real instance, you would open a record, for example, an incident, right-click the form header, choose configure, and then click related list. That opens a configuration screen where you move available related list into the selected side. When you save, those related lists appear at the bottom of the form for that table and view. And this is exactly what the question is asking for, so we will consider it correct for the time being. Option C, use form layout to add the related table's reference field to the form. And this one is a better, this one is where actually lots of people get tricked, okay? Form layout definitely changes the fields that appear on the form, You can add or remove fields in the main body of the form, but adding a reference field from another table to the form is not the same as adding a related list. A related list is a list of child or related records, not a single reference field. So while form layout is a real tool and very relevant to forms, it does not answer the question. And option C is incorrect. Option D, create a UI policy that includes the related table. UI policies control behavior for fields on the form, things like making a field mandatory, read-only, or hidden based on conditions. They do not create related list, and they do not say attach this related table as a related list. So option D is clearly is incorrect, and the correct answer is B. Right click the form header and select configure. So just let's recap here. To manage related, remember this pattern, right? To manage related list on a form, open a record, right click the form header, choose configure, then related list. Form layout changes which fields are on the form, not which related list show at the bottom. Dictionary defines fields. UI policies control form behavior, not layout of related list. And with that, considering all of that, the right answer is B. The question is, if an administrator selects configure, then list layout on the incident list, what is the effect? Options are, only the administrator personal view of the list is updated. B, all users list layout for that table are updated, new columns and order for everyone. C, the change applies only to users with the ITIL role. D, no change is made until the list is published. So if we try to read the question and extract the clues here, we can see that the user is an administrator and they choose configure, then list layout, and they are on the incident list. So the question is testing if you know the difference between configure list layout, which is a system level configuration, personalized lists, or the gear icon, which is per user. They want to see if you know the difference. Once you see configure list layout, you should be thinking, this is going to affect everyone who uses list view, and hold that thought while we check each option. So option A, all the administrators' personal views of list is updated. And this sounds like what happens when you see the little gear icon on the list header, or the personalized list option. That is a user preference. It affects only the current user. But the question does not say personalize. It says configure list layout. And configure is what ServiceNow uses for system level changes, not just personal tweaks. So A mixes up those two ideas and is incorrect. Option B, all users list layout for that table are updated, new columns and order for everyone. This lines up with what configure list layout really does. When an admin configure then list layout, they choose which columns appear, they choose the order of those columns. After they save, that layout became the default list layout for that table and that view. Other users who open that same list see the updated columns and order, as long as they are using that view. So B correctly describes a global change to the list layout, and we will keep it or consider it correct and keep considering the other options. Option C, the change applies only to users with the ITIL role, and this one is trying to distract you with the role. Nothing in the action configure list layout says only ITIL. The change is defined at the table and view level, not at a specific role level. Roles might control who can open the list at all, but the question is about what the configure action does. It's not a role based layout feature, so C is incorrect. Option D, no change is made until the list is published. And ServiceNow does not have a publish list step like content management system. When you click save or update in configure list layout, the change is active right away. There is no extra publish buttons for list layout, so D is also incorrect. The key takeaway here, so for configure list layout, that changes the system layout for that table and view and affects all users. Personalized list or the gear icon changes only your personal view of the list. So the correct answer is B, all users list layout for that table are updated. Question 9, in U16, to change the instance banner logo and color theme, an administrator should navigate to option R, A, system properties, then followed by basic configuration U16, B, system UI, images, C, UI builder, themes, D, application navigator, all applications. And the key phrase here is in U16 and change the instance banner logo and color theme. So we are talking about the classic platform interface, not portals, not workspaces. We want to change the banner at the top, things like logo and colors, which is managed by system properties for U16. And the exam is really asking, which module holds the U16 branding properties for logo and theme? Keep that idea in your head as we go through each option. So option A, system properties and basic configuration U16. And this is the star of the show, right? In a real instance, if you search for basic configuration U16 in the Navigator, you land on a properties page where you can change banner logo or banner image, header colors and theme values, caption text and other U16 visuals, and that exactly what the question describes. U16 banner logo color theme, all of that lives there, so we will consider this as correct and keep reading and evaluating the other options. Option B, system UI images. This one sounds close, and that is why it's a trap. System UI images is where image files are stored as records. You can upload a logo there, yes, but simply going to images does not configure the banner or the theme. The question is asking about the place where you actually apply the logo and color theme to U16. And that is done with properties, not by just browsing the images table. So option B is incorrect. Option C, UI builder themes. And UI builder and its themes relate to the Now Experience framework, workspace, and portals. And this is different from the classic UI 16 banner at the very top of the main platform. The question is clearly a scope to UI 16 and not to the next experience workspaces, so this does not match, and option C is incorrect. Option D, application navigator, all applications. And all applications is just a view of modules in the Navigator. It's not a configuration module, and it definitely does not control branding. So option D is obviously incorrect. And we will consider A as the correct answer. And remember this pairing here. So system properties followed by basic configuration UI 16. And is where you configure the UI 16 look and feel, right? Things like banner logo, banner text, and color theme for the classic interface. Other modules like images or UI builder might store assets or affect portals, but they are not the UI 16 banner configuration point. Question number 10. In the ServiceNow core UI on Windows, what is the keyboard shortcut to focus the navigation filter field in the application Navigator? Option Alt Control plus F, B Alt Control plus G, C Alt Control plus C, D Alt Control plus I. And the key phrase here is focus the navigation filter field in the application Navigator. So this is not about searching data or impersonating or opening dialogues. It is specifically the little text box at the top of the application Navigator where you type things like incident.list. And the question is asking which shortcut jumps your cursor into that field so you can start typing right away. So we are in Core UI on Windows and we want the filter navigation shortcut. Now let's study the options. Option A, Alt plus Control plus F. And this one should already feel familiar if you have used the keyboard shortcut in Core UI. On Windows, Control plus Alt plus F activates the filter navigator field. In other words, it puts the cursor in the navigation filter box on the left. And that matches the wording of the question exactly. And we will hold it as our likely answer. But let's review the other options. So option B, Alt plus Control plus G. And this is another real shortcut, but for something different. And it activates global search, and that's the big search bar that looks across records and knowledge, not the little filter in the navigator. So B is a real shortcut, but for the wrong target. And the question is about the navigation filter, not global search. And option B is incorrect. Option C, Alt plus Control plus C. Again, real shortcut, wrong job. Control plus Alt plus C collapses or expands the navigation panel, so it shows or hides the whole application navigator. It does not move your cursor into the filter field, so C is incorrect. Option D, Alt plus Control plus I. This one opens the impersonate user dialog, and that has nothing to do with the navigation filter field. So D is also incorrect. And the correct answer is A, Alt plus Control plus F.